Well, the authorities in Zimbabwe see the stock exchange as part of a scheme to cause currency instability. The currency there isn't free fall. Officially, it was freed up recently, and I think it traded an auction today at about 63 to the US dollar. But on the black market, it's trading at well over 100. And the government made various allegations that the stock exchange, together with mobile money operators, was being used to move money out the country and to manipulate the currency. They haven't really spelled out how that works, but they have said they will reveal more in coming weeks.
Money fleeing the country means a lack of confidence. Is that the case? And why is it that Zimbabweans don't have any faith in this Zimbabwe dollar?
Well, there's really nothing to back it up. The economy is in free fall. You can't find basic commodities easily. Fuel is often short. And they've also been scarred by the fact that in 2008, inflation went to 500 billion%, destroying everybody's savings. And the next year, the Zimbabwe dollar was scrapped. Now, it was only brought back into existence last year. And it hasn't really been welcomed by your average Zimbabwean. A lot of people still prefer to use US dollars or even other currencies like the South African rand.
All right, so there's questions about who ordered the shutting of the stock exchange and this movement on the way that mobile money operates. What can you tell us?
Well, that's very interesting. Senior people within Zimbabwe, that the order that came through on Friday, while it was being called economic chiefs, the central bank and the finance ministry, the Joint Operations Command, which is basically the military, police, secret service, and the defense minister, were growing very impatient and felt action needed to be taken. So they forced through an order. And effectively, they were responsible for closing down the stock exchange and also shutting down the majority of mobile money payments, which effectively brings the economy to an almost halt, because that's how Zimbabweans transact.
So what is the Joint Operations Command telling government? I mean, are they in charge? Because this sounds like a military coup when you start making government decisions from a military office.
I think you're right there, and I think that they are loath to give that appearance. If you remember, Emmerson Mnangagwa came to power in November 2017 because of the military. He was installed by the military, and therefore he's beholden to them. There are many military figures within the Zimbabwean government, and there are many powerful military figures behind the scenes. And they won't be happy to see the economy collapse as it is at the moment. And they're also a little bit concerned because the populace are suffering enormously. And while there isn't really a credible opposition at the moment, they do face elections in a couple of years' time, and it's going to be quite difficult for them. So I think they are taking matters into their own hands. But, you know, coups are not popular in this part of the world in Southern Africa. They're frowned upon by SADC. And they'll be very, very careful to try and give the appearance that the civilian government is still operating and running the show.
All right, so we have a president who, November 2017, many people thought that he really was the guy to change things around, that he would bring in all of this investment into the country and kickstart a new era for Zimbabwe. But I get a sense that a lot of Zimbabweans feel that things have gotten from bad to worse. What has gone wrong?
Well, I think he did come in. But we have to remember that he was in the Zimbabwean cabinet from 1980, as of many of the long-serving politicians are still there, and they've struggled to win over the confidence of investors and also of the international community, particularly the multilaterals to whom they owe a lot of money and who have not belief. Now, Emmerson Mnangagwa did travel the globe wearing his scarf, saying Zimbabwe was open for business. They've announced more than $27 billion of supposed investment pledges, but nothing has actually happened on the ground, nothing significant anyway. And there's just very little going on economically, and the lives of Zimbabweans are getting worse and worse. Now, the reasons you would probably attribute the inaction of the international community to are, yes, they have made some economic reforms, but they haven't really made the political reforms that the international community was demanding. We've seen violence post the 2018 election. I think 6 people were shot dead by the military. In January of the next year, there were riots over living standards, and between 16 and 18 people also died of gunshot wounds from the military. Now, it's very hard for the IMF, the AFDB, and the World Bank, various other organizations to give Zimbabwe support to apparently be backing a country's government which hasn't really learned from its problems in the past. So they're a little bit stuck at the moment because they're not really getting any help from anybody.
All right, so the president and his spokespeople continue to talk this language of a relentless attack on our currency and the economy in general. Is there any truth to that perhaps there are speculators or saboteurs? Or was this just normal market forces? When a black market surfaces, money will tend towards that because of the profits?
I think you're right, and I think it's a highly dysfunctional market, and therefore we see a lot of volatility. And, you know, on June the 10th, there was a very strange press conference where military leaders stood behind a government minister and said that they weren't planning a coup. That's almost unheard of. And they blamed all manner of different organizations for, ranging from evangelical preachers to the private sector to foreign powers to former allies of President Robert Mugabe. And that rhetoric has only escalated in recent days, and I think it culminated on Friday night when they gave the order to shut down mobile money, which is something they've struggled to control, and to shut down the stock market.
So what have the mobile money operators been saying about this? Because without them and no hard currency in hand, you don't have an economy.
Yes, they have chosen to keep quiet. EcoCash, which is by far the biggest operator, has decided not to comment on any of the allegations leveled against it. But you know, almost all of Zimbabwe's commerce goes through mobile money. So effectively, the economy is being brought to a halt. And not only that, there is a 2% tax levied on all mobile transactions. And the government is desperate for revenue. So to a certain extent, it's shutting off its own source of revenue. So I can't imagine that this would last an extended period of time. There needs to be some sort of compromise.
And you wrote an article and suggested that inflation is nearly at 790%.
Yes, so that's pretty high, and it's led to all sorts of market distortions. For instance, the economy is in dire straits. It's expected to contract 10% this year, yet we've seen the stock exchange main index, I think, rise 7-fold this year because it's being used as an inflation hedge. That's not normal market behavior. Normally, you'd expect weak confidence to lead to low stock prices. And there are all sorts of strange things happening. That is speculation. But on the other hand, people earn money and they want it to keep value, so they do the best they can. And in this case, they were putting it into stocks and shares.